welcome to another episode of the Saints Martini with the Saint and the Halow, who occasionally wears horns. Oh, how are you today? How was your week?
I am good, Warren. Thank you. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in our country, but, I'm personally pretty good.
Yes, I have to admit, it seems like, I remember, you and I chatting earlier in the year when half of Australia was on fire. Yes. And it seems like the reverse can now be said in the United States. For our non-American listeners, what is going on? Yeah.
A lot, actually. One, we have a moronic president who doesn't know how to lead. I'm just going to start there and put a period. And then let's talk about this. We've had another incident, and it happens so often, where a black man was taken by police and killed by them, by a white officer who put his knee on his throat for over 8 minutes while he told them he couldn't breathe. People in the street said he couldn't breathe, let him up. He kept his knee on his neck for over 8 minutes, including more than 2 minutes after the man went unresponsive. And he died in the street. And people have had enough of this in our country. It took them days to do anything about arresting the officer that did it. People had caught it on video. A poor 17-year-old girl videoed this. She will never, ever, ever recover from what she saw. And people in our country are really tired of it. And they're starting to protest against police violence. They disproportionately kill people of color in our country just outrageously. We have incident after incident. They protect the police officers. And it turns out, too, that, and the media is not really talking about it, but it turns out that the officer and the man he killed had known each other for years. That they actually worked as co-workers, co-security, one inside and one outside, for a nightclub in Minneapolis for like 12 years.
So they knew each other. They actually knew each other.
They knew each other.
And all of this was about the fact that my understanding is this gentleman walked into a shop, handed over a $20 note, which was apparently quickly identified as counterfeit. Now, whether he was intentionally doing that or whether he just didn't know, like he'd been given the counterfeit note and didn't realise, my understanding is that's never been found out because the man is now dead. Yes. Simply because of that action, which, okay, even if he did intentionally do it, is a crime, it's not punishable by death. He was then taken off. They put his knee onto his throat, held it for long enough to kill him. Now, to me, it says one of three things. Either the police officer is an absolute racist and bigot, okay, Black lives do matter. Number two, the police officer is a bully thug, basically an evil incarnate, and he would do it to anyone. Or three, the police force itself in that city is so badly trained that there needs to be an investigation into the entire police force as to why their training is so appallingly bad. Now, I would argue, which of the three is it? Or is it actually a combination of all three?
None of those things are mutually exclusive in our country. Right. Unfortunately, our police started as, way back in the day, as slave reclamation units, basically, like people that would go out and just try to capture slaves that had escaped. That's where our police force initially kind of started. It became these people that were saying they would, keep law and order and all of these things. And as we transgressed into it, they became our police force, peace officers there to keep the peace. But unfortunately, when you start out as a racist institution, there is really no way to get away from that, even with training. Unfortunately, our entire society has a racist base here. It's very scary, and it's unfortunate. And a lot of us are, we don't know what to do about it, but, we're pouring into the streets because they didn't like the peaceful protests that happened. So now other things are happening. But I think the important thing to remember here is that all of the people that are out there peacefully protesting are doing it because we have a systematic racism problem in America. And we have a government, especially right now, a leader supposedly, and I say that with air quotes because this man he's absolutely incapable of leading, who instigates this and calls white nationalists who came into Charlottesville a couple of years ago and killed a girl very fine people.
Yes, the world was stunned by that, to be truthful. The world was stunned by very fine people. You honestly have got to be on the extreme right, or, to be honest with you, the extreme left. I'll tell you what, there's a lot of white nationalists on the extreme left as well, but you've got to be on the extreme, if you get what I'm saying.
Well, extremism in any form is bad.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I mean, it's like we can talk about, the fascists, I'll rephrase that. The Nazis, rounded up the Jews. But I'll tell you what, let's have a look at Pol Pot in, an extreme far left, organization. How many people were murdered in Cambodia? Even in the Soviet Union. I mean, Stalin would round people up by the millions.
Because I think those, though, even though they claim to be on the far left and they were using this economic system of communism to try to say that they were on the left, those people really were fascists. And that's the problem. What we have right now is a fascism problem growing in America, a white nationalist problem growing in America. They don't look at attacks by white people who are from America as terrorism. They don't label it as that. In our media, They don't do it in our government. But yet those are the people who commit more atrocities in our country than anybody else. Way more than any kind of foreign entity coming into our country and trying to attack us.
Well, my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and that is that since 9/11, and I know 9/11 throws the figures out because it was such a horrific event, all right, and okay. Wow. But post 9/11, more American citizens have been killed by extreme white nationalists than by Muslim terrorists.
Absolutely. By far.
So it does, and I know 9/11 it's one of those, I don't know, you know what I mean?
It's a moment, but let me say to you that we've lost that many people a day in this country to COVID-19 and the failures of our leadership. So, never forget or whatever. And that was a way to pump up our patriotism. And, look, I get it, but, there's a lot more going on than that. A lot more people have died since then from all kinds of other atrocities that nobody seems to care about. Well, I think that's the problem.
Well, I think the thing is that I remember when Los Angeles burnt for, was it 3-4 days after Rodney King? Now, how long ago was that? That was in the early 90s, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. I try to shut that stuff out, but yes.
But here we are. And I have to be very careful too, Irish, what I say, because I'm not an American citizen. I only have certain rights.
I'm interested to hear your opinion from somebody outside, yes.
So I only have certain rights in this argument. I can have, as you said, everyone's allowed an opinion. However, my opinion doesn't have to be listened to because I am not an American citizen. But I would say that if that was in the early 90s, it's 30 years and nothing has changed in 30 years. I mean, that's what surprises me. Normally over that period of time, especially in the modern world, that we live in, you would think 30 years something would have changed.
Well, I mean, I think it has slowly little bits and pieces, but the problem is that we have society that is moving forward in some ways, a lot of it. But we have a government, the people who are in charge, our corporate interests, especially the lobbyists and everything that they did when they basically made unlimited lobbyism and corporate donations legal in our country under Citizens United, which was the law that they protected in the Supreme Court, basically saying corporations are people and they can, they have free speech to do this and that and the other thing. And we're no longer a democracy. We're a corporate oligarchy. That's what we are. Under the guise of being a democratic republic, and under the guise of being this capitalist society, which we are. But the problem is that capitalism is nothing but socialism for the rich.
Well, there is that argument. I mean, tax cuts, across the United States only for the wealthy. You would argue, how democratic is that? Personally, would you rather see America, and I know it would have to be slowly, you couldn't do it overnight, but move more to a liberal democracy, like countries like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Sweden, Denmark,
absolutely.
Norway, Germany,
absolutely.
that sort of thing. Is that kind of like a dream, or do you think it could ever happen in the United States that social democracy could catch on? I mean, it's not like half the world hasn't embraced it. I mean, most of Western Europe are social democracies. Canada is a social democracy. Australia is. New Zealand is. Lots of countries are. Is it impossible? Or is it basically
in this country right now, the way things have been, that's a pipe dream, because we have too many corporate interests and other people who are wealthy trying to keep that from happening. Is it what America needs? Absolutely. Do I think it's possible? I do believe it's possible, but in order to do it, we have to kind of break down the old systems that we've had and rebuild them from the ground up. Because you can't just keep putting a Band-Aid on the dike when there's cracks everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I do.
Eventually the dam's going to burst. And that's honestly as bad as everything that's going on, that's happening here right now. And honestly, I've never thought I'd see any of this stuff going on like this that's been going on in our country in my lifetime. But here we are. And hopefully this will be a catalyst for some really significant change for us as a country, as a society. I think that we have to take a really hard look at ourselves and make some serious decisions and some serious changes. And we can only do that by getting the people that are in there now out, because they're the ones who are the swamp, as they like to say. They're draining it. No, they're not. They are the swamp, and they're filling it up as much as they can, along with their pockets, on taxpayer money. And we're all tired of it.
It's to me the whole idea of the swamp is just a catchphrase. It's like build the wall. It's a catchphrase,
Oh, of course.
Because the whole idea is it doesn't. To me, I don't think it matters whether it's Democrat or Republican. The swamp exists.
I agree with that as well.
Do you know what I mean? So the idea that Trump drains the swamp, no, he doesn't. He continues. In fact, in many ways, it's more. It's worse to a degree.
With him, Warren.
Yeah.
He brought them with him.
But what I was going to say is that, like, we were sort of saying that, moving maybe the United States, and I suppose this is what Bernie Sanders has been arguing for a very long time, to be but this is the other thing too. Half the things that Bernie Sanders asks for, when he gets accused of being a communist or a socialist, no, he's not. He's nowhere near a communist or a socialist. He's a million miles away. People who say that don't actually know what socialism or communism actually is.
No, they think they're interchangeable things that just say, you don't believe like I do. Right. You want to redistribute our wealth.
But the problem is, if America went down that path, if it was slowly taken down that path, here is the problem with it. And this is where I think Americans would have a real issue. And I think this is Democrats as well as Republicans. I think this crosses both parties. I'd love to know what you think. And that is that The problem with a social democracy or a liberal democracy is that it's society first, individual second. Where in a capitalist democracy like the United States, it's the individual first and society second. So you have to do this total role reversal where people, if the government sort of says, you can have guns, but you can only have, instead of having 50 different types, you can only have 3 types. End of story, it's done. It's for the greater good. Now, here's the problem. In Sweden, yeah, fine. In Australia, yeah, fine. We've all done that, right?
Yeah,
in
of
Britain,
course.
yeah, they've done that, right? The problem is, would Americans ever accept something like that? That's the problem. Would Americans ever accept the idea that society is more important than the individual when every American has been told since day one it's a country of individualists. Anyone can achieve anything as long as they work hard enough. Like, put it work.
Well, I'm going to say that I think if you look at the percentage of people in our country that want more gun regulation, that want gun control, that don't want AK-47s or AR-15s on our streets, weapons of war shouldn't be allowed on our streets, it really, really is a very high percentage of our population. Again, the problem is we have a very noisy minority in this country. They are ginned up by groups that have a financial interest in making sure that we continue to stay afraid and want to buy guns to protect ourselves. The NRA is one of those groups. They're having a hard way to go right now, which is great. But they take money from foreign actors like Russia, and they funnel it to and this is what's weird, they only send it to the Republicans. They funnel it to the Republicans to keep their gun agenda.
Now, sorry, can I just interrupt for a second if it's okay? Sorry, because I also don't want to lose the point. And I know it's rude to interrupt, but
do it. You do.
Is that, because this is going to bring us on to another topic for a bit later, but is that fact checked? Is that proven? Is the Russians, like the FSB or the GSU, actually funneling money to the NRA? Like,
yes.
Is it? It's not. It is known. It's not just suspected. Is what I mean.
Oh no, absolutely, it's known for sure. And there's some things going on. We've had investigations going on, but unfortunately, when Trump got into office and put William Barr in as our Attorney General, his job is to stop any kind of investigations going on into any indiscretions or any misusing of power, anything, any abuse. He is there to shut it down. He went in for the FBI when they were investigating Trump for Russian collusion. Mueller's report clearly stated multiple instances of collusion with the Russians through his campaign.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. Not just him, but people surrounding him. There is no doubt this man colluded with the Russians. But unfortunately, because of a Department of Justice memo that said a sitting president can't be indicted for crimes, because that would mean that he couldn't do his job as president, which is weird because if he's committing crimes, he shouldn't be doing a job as president. They couldn't be indicted for that. So it left it up to our Congress, the House and the Senate, to impeach him and remove him from office for crimes that he had committed.
But wasn't that about the Ukraine, though, not actually about the collusion? Wasn't the impeachment actually about Ukraine, or? Well,
yeah, and there's
Sorry, no.
No. I'm disappointed when you ask me that. I say that in that way because yes, that's the thing that they used, and that was a quid pro quo. It absolutely was him trying to use his power to get Ukraine to investigate a political opponent for his personal gain, with a threat of withholding funds for them that they desperately needed to protect themselves from Russia, while at the same time allowing Russia to take Crimea.
Oh my God! Now we've opened a can of worms.
Yeah, and you know what? I know it's a whole thing. So I'm going to say
I'm in two moods about Crimea. You might hate me for some of this, but
I'm not. Yeah, I don't know enough about what's going on over there, except to say that I know that we shouldn't have been doing what we allowed Russia to do. That's what I'm going to say.
Oh, look. Am I any? Well, okay. Am I friendly with the Russians? I freaking love the Russians. I love Russian culture. I love their music.
Oh, people are amazing.
I love Russian movies. I love Russian movies. I've started watching. I've subscribed to a service called Star Media, which is a Russian website. Just plays Russian movies and TV shows.
Yeah.
They're fantastic. I love them. I've suddenly realised just how American Russians actually are. It's really kind of stunning just how American Russians are. Everything works to an American formula. You've got to have a happy ending. It's all like everything like sort of works. It's very different to the old world of everything's dark and dismal. Now everything's bright and happy. It's so different. And so, no, I love, Russia. Absolutely adore it. In fact, my uncle is fluent in Russian. There's a Russian connection.
Oh, wonderful. I've learned some things.
He's actually a well, this is where it gets a little bit complicated because he's actually from Lithuania, not actually Russia. But it was all part of the Soviet Union back then, so that's like Russian rather, right? And so, yeah.
No, I agree with you. Right. I love the Russian.
However, that was just in case anyone from Russia was listening. I didn't want to offend them.
Well, no, I want to say my brother went to the Olympics in Sochi, and he spent a bunch of time over there. So he loved the Russian people. He said how wonderful they were. My issue is with the Russian government.
Exactly right. And my problem too is that the Secret Service in Russia works directly to the office of the president, right? So for instance,
corrupt as hell. Like
the FSB and the GSU are different. They're not like the CIA and the FBI. They're not the same. They're not independent bodies. Right, that's the thing everyone has to remember. The Secret Service in Russia doesn't work that way, right? And so it will actively undertake what the president wants them to do, right? And so, yeah, are they evil as shit? Absolutely. Ask a Finn. Ask anyone from Finland what they think about the Russians, right? like Americans, you guys talk about the fact that, in the last election, you had the Russians meddling, and openly supporting Trump, funding Trump, having these meetings, working with that British company, Cambridge Analytica, Facebook. This is a whole other story. This week, the truth came out about bloody Facebook, didn't it? About where it stands on Russian bloody hacking.
After a while, we all have cracks in our facade, and after a while, you can't hide them anymore. But your ugliness spills out.
But the Finns have been dealing with this for a decade before your last election even happened, where the Russians were meddling in every bit of Finnish political life. And the Finnish beat it, apparently. They beat it by everyone in politics in Finland getting together with one message. We disagree with each other, but the one thing we agree on is stopping the Russians, right? So but this is the problem. When in America, you've got one side which says we've got to stop the Russians, and the other side says better be Russian than a Democrat. How are you going to deal with that? How are you going to deal with that?
That's what was crazy. Like, let me tell you something. The Republicans have for so long, and they'll just be whoever they have to be to get votes. I'm just saying. But for so long, they were super patriots, and the Russians were bad, and we can't trust the Russians. Okay, until Donald Trump got into office, and he is beholden to the Russians for lots and lots of money and a lot of things. And all of a sudden, we had the Russians hacked both the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, and the RNC, the Republican National Convention, along with multiple different individual senators and congresspeople. Now, they dumped a bunch of stuff that they got onto WikiLeaks from the Democrats. But you know what didn't happen? They didn't release any information from the Republicans, even though we know for sure they hacked them.
Yep.
They also hacked personal emails of people like Senator Lindsey Graham. Now, Lindsey Graham was a very outspoken critic of Trump throughout the whole race, and even that. And it literally, Trump gave out his personal cell phone number on live television to troll him. Okay?
Did he really do that?
Yes, he did. There's videos of it on YouTube. Okay. Please look it up.
How the hell?
He did it on live television.
This blows my mind when Trump says it is wrong to, you're a nasty person.
It's all projection.
My God. Anyway, continue, please.
So he did this, and Lindsey Graham had called him, mentally ill and all kinds of things. He's not wrong with the things that he said, but all of a sudden, he went to play golf with Trump and came back and did a 180. Every single thing that Trump does now, Lindsey Graham supports. Now, this has happened with more than one senator, more than one member of our House. I think you get where I'm going here.
I do. My only thing about, because I believe that Trump is in bed with the Russians. This is me personally, and you can tell me, to shut up if you want.
Shut up.
Well, you know what I mean.
Oh, I might. I'm not going to promise I won't.
I'm being my Aussie self, right? I'm trying to see both sides. Well, I don't, because the man's a corrupt. The man's a fucking criminal who wears fake tan. Watch him when he puts his hands up to his face. Pale white hands, orange face. Okay, that's fucking bronzer.
Too, but I don't want to talk.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. But anyway,
that's a whole other.
I mean, the man's a criminal. Okay, but anyway, getting beside that, the whole idea is that I'm not too sure that he openly works with the Russians. I think the concept is the Russians support anything that he wants to do. So, in other words, because. But then again, there is another argument that he's in so much debt via Deutsche Bank to German funding that
and China.
But this is the other thing too. Why start a trade war with someone you're in so much debt with, right?
I have other thoughts on that.
My only other theory is that he's hanging everything on the concept that he will be re-elected this year. And that means that there can be no criminal serious investigation into him for at least another 4 years.
Well, there won't be, because he keeps firing our inspector generals who would be investigating him.
Yeah, but he's only ever going to hire one who's going to support him, though, isn't he? He's never going to hire one.
They're independently appointed? They're independent?
The inspector general,
are they?
Them, are they? I don't know.
He can fire them.
Right. Okay. Well, he fires everyone, doesn't he? He grew up on the
catchphrase. He fires anybody who's looking into him, and then replaces them with a temporary person who doesn't have to be approved by the Senate, who is a sycophant for him.
Yes.
He is dismantling every check and balance we have in this country, and the only bastion of sanity that we have left is our House of Representatives, which is not controlled by the Republicans. And that being said, I think I would like to talk about something more pleasant right now. So let's segue.
I think we should. And in fact,
I do.
I think we should take a quick break, and I think we will be right back.
Ta-da.
And we are back. And
I can let the giggles loose now. I'm sorry.
Apart from talking about dim sims and dumplings and various, sometimes we have the best.
I'm sad everyone else missed that conversation.
I was telling Irish about Australian street food, and you can't redo it. It'll come back up.
You can't redo it, but it was because I told him that I shoved 5 pork Chinese dumplings in my mouth in like 30 seconds when I was downstairs because, they were there. That's where it started. So that doesn't matter. Let's move on.
We'll talk about Australian street food another day. Anyway, hey, this is something, I don't know if this is happening in the United States, but it's made news in Australia. Because of COVID-19 and social distancing, you can't go to the cinema anymore, right? Do you know what have been rebuilt and they've actually reopened and spent time to get going again? Drive-ins.
Oh my gosh, please.
Drive-ins.
Thank you. I was going to say, please tell me it's drive-in movies.
Yes,
oh my God.
Yes, a drive-in in Melbourne has reopened.
Oh
right,
my gosh.
because you can't go to the cinema anymore, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So they've reopened the drive-in. There was one in Melbourne that was able to it was still physically there. They were able to get it operational again. It was one of the only ones that hadn't been kind of bulldozed. Or had, apartment blocks put on it or something. So yes, is this happening in America or is this kind of an Australian thing?
Holy crap, no. Because when you said that, my mind just exploded because why didn't we think of that? Because we're dumb. But yeah, I loved to go to a drive-in with my parents. And you're right, that would solve a lot for these companies that, that are making movies or the actual theater companies that are having a hard time staying in business, like the movie theaters right now. So, because everything's coming out online. Warren.
Yes.
I feel stupid now because I didn't think of it. So thank you. That's wonderful. No, I would love to do that. That was something I have a great memory of my parents when we lived in Minneapolis and I was really little. They'd take me, we'd go, they'd put the thing in the window, but sometimes we'd go out and lie on the front hood with our back against the windshield and watch it that way. It was pretty cool.
Well, I still remember when I was a teenager, there was this thing, there was a vehicle in Australia called a panel van. I don't know if there is an equivalent thing in America. It's like a muscle car, right? But the whole back of it, there's only 2 front seats, and the whole back of it is like a combi van. You know what I mean? It's just like a roof with a big flat thing in there. And what people used to do is they put beds in them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And they were called panel vans. And what people used to do was they would park their panel van into the drive-in backwards. You'd open the doors and you'd lie in bed and watch the movie, right?
Well, it kind of sounds like a SUV without any back seats.
Yes. Imagine an SUV like this.
Station wagon?
But instead of that, it's imagine a station wagon, but the roof's much higher and there's no windows down the side because there's no second door. Right, there's no passenger doors. There's only a front. There's only the 2 front doors.
Like a cargo van in a
sense. Yeah. And they
were
called panel vans. They were an extension of the Australian ute, which is a little bit like a pickup truck, except it's a muscle car. If you can imagine that concept, imagine a pickup truck that's a muscle car. Right. So if you
think Chevy had something like that here. Chevrolet, I think and I can't now because I've had too much Pinot Grigio to remember the name of it. But yeah, it was
I think it was actually an Australian car rebadged, actually.
Ooh, perhaps, yeah.
No, it was. It was actually an Australian car. It was an Australian Commodore, which was rebadged in America under the Chevy label. Because it's all General Motors, you see.
That's true.
Yeah, so it's really, but anyway, and the coolest one to have was called the Sandman, and it actually said on the side, the Sandman. It had pictures of waves and surfers and stuff, all painted on the side of it. And that's how they came from the factory, right? And
I know what you're talking about. Those are factory vans. Those are vans. My parents had one, had seats in the front, nothing in the back, literally nothing. And I would sit on the axle bump. Yeah. In the back, it was so my dad could drive his band equipment around. So that was it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yes.
And anyway, so they would have beds in them and all the rest of it and stuff.
Yeah, and, custom ones.
And anyway, and they would often, there was this sticker you could get to put on the back, which says, "If the van is a rockin', don't come a knockin'."
They have that here too.
I think that's the same.
I'm ashamed I didn't realize that's what you were talking about. Yeah,
but
custom vans with an airbrush paint of a wizard on the side.
But they weren't actual vans. If you could imagine a Ford Mustang station wagon.
Ugh,
right,
okay.
so it's a very Australian concept.
Maybe I can't. I don't know.
For anyone who's listening, just hop onto Google and go Australian panel van, and just look it up, and you will see a picture of what one looks like.
I feel silly now. I'm gonna do
Australian Sandman panel van, and you'll see what one looks like, right? And they were and the cool thing was you'd always see them. They were always backwards, and I remember as a young kid, you'd be walking around, to go off to get, a meat pie or some dim sims or some popcorn or something like that, to have, the snacks and stuff. And you'd see them, and you'd see these guys, and they were guys and girls, they were probably in their early 20s or 21 or 18, 19 or something like that. But to me, they looked like they were 100, you know what I mean? Because I was like 8, right? And it was just like, I was kind of in awe of how cool they were. The truth was, they were probably just friggin' nobodies, you know what I mean? But I viewed them like these heroes, like that these people were so amazing, and
these cars, Warren, I just want to tell you, I just looked this up, and holy crap.
Oh, you've seen one? It
looks like a Camaro. Yeah, it looks like a Camaro in the front, and like it's got a van topper on the back, like a pickup truck topper on the back.
It's weird. It's weird, isn't it? You only find them in Australia, maybe in New Zealand, because they were exported to New Zealand. Falcons, Commodores by Holden, which is General Motors. And they were so popular. The other thing you can look up is the same thing as a ute. Go Australian ute, and you will see that they're the same thing. They're still a muscle car, but they're a pickup truck.
I feel like it's like a Camaro hearse. That's what it looks like to me.
It is. No. It is a bit like that.
I don't have a problem with that. I think it's kind of cool, but holy crap. Yeah, that's different. I haven't seen one like that before.
It's a very, very Australian, bit of Australian culture from the 1970s. It's very Mad Max, actually. It is. In fact, there were probably people sitting in one of those, reversed up to the screen, watching Mad Max while they lied in bed in their Sandman panel van. The very original Mad Max, the very original one when he was the true road warrior. Oh
yeah, that one was pretty weird, man. I loved it.
But you have to remember that was made right at the end of Australian, what do they call it, Ozploitation in cinema.
I remember you talking about that before. Yeah.
Yeah, we've talked about Ozploitation, and it's for anyone who doesn't know what Ozploitation is. It's I'm sure if you're American, you've heard of blaxploitation movies.
Yes. Yes.
Or there's what's it called? Like Filipino exploitation. I don't think it has a cool name. It's just Filipino exploitation.
I haven't seen those. Actually.
All the exploitation movies that were made are in the Philippines when Marcos was president, because Marcos had no rules. There were no rules. You do whatever you wanted, right? So the whole point is, if you did a stunt man, right, or woman, to fall off a building while on flames, they miss the mat, they hit the ground, they burn to death. Oh, it doesn't matter. Just get another one. There's no laws here. This is the Philippines under Marcos. Right, there were no laws.
Really?
So film companies would go to the Philippines to make B-grade exploitation movies, and there were no laws. They didn't have to. Anyone got hurt, didn't matter.
So it was like action snuff filming. Wow, that's terrible.
To a degree, yes. Well, they didn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. They didn't intentionally try to kill people.
Well, no, like a Jackie Chan film, but still, they showed the actual death on the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, so there were no rules. Mind you, Australian exploitation is a little bit like that. I remember a little while ago, I rewatched a movie called The Man from Hong Kong, which is an Australian exploitation movie, and so from the early 80s, and that Mad Max period, right, of the original one.
Yeah.
And it starts off, right, where there is a car chase through the outback, and there are these two cars chasing each other down the road, right, doing, I don't know, 120 kilometres an hour on narrow dirt roads, going sideways in cars with didn't have no disc brakes, drum brakes, and that took about 100 metres to stop and all the rest of it. They're doing all of this. They run one over a bridge and crash one into a river and all this stuff. You ready for this? No permits. They just turned up and did it. Oh. And ready for this? And hoped there was nobody coming down the other way of the road. They didn't even check. Right. Well,
I'm not going to say I haven't done my share of guerrilla shooting, but that seems wrong.
Yeah. So
I'm going to say.
So exploitation's a bit like that. So, but probably the closest thing, and then of course we've got the Italian cinema of the 1970s and early 80s, which I'm not a huge fan of because it's kind of very pro-fascist, which I have a bit of a problem with,
Oh, I'm totally, I have a problem totally with pro-fascism, absolutely.
I mean, look, I know people watch them and they sort of go, oh, yeah, but it's a sign of the times. Yeah, but Nazism was a sign of the times. It doesn't mean we want to, embrace it, if you get what I'm trying to say.
I do.
So a bit funny about that.
Oh, well.
However, Italian science fiction from the 60s, I love.
We just watched one of those, didn't we?
We did. We did. We never got to talk about it. But we did.
Well, we can talk about it right now.
Well, I'll tell you.
Want to talk about it?
I felt. And what was the movie again? What was it called?
Why are you doing this to me? It was.
I don't even remember.
Oh, good Lord! It was definitely an Italian.
Oh no!
Spaghetti
it was a spaghetti sci-fi. It was. It was. No, I can tell you. Actually, if you give me 2 seconds, I can tell you. It was.
I'm sorry, that was a snort. I don't know.
That's all right. It was Mission Stardust.
Yes. Oh my God!
And it was a spaghetti sci-fi about, what was it? The Earth. In fact, it was. To be honest with you, it was a bit Bond. It was sci-fi meets James Bond. It was really kind of weird. The idea that humans, or NASA, or what was kind of, I suppose, that concept, launch.
Kind of NASA.
They go to the moon, and when they land on the moon, they find that there are aliens who have been trapped there. And the aliens are actually really good. They're just trapped. So they help out the aliens, and they need to go back to Earth to get medical equipment to help the aliens. But then we find out there's almost like this Bond-esque Blofeld type character who realizes what's going on. How the fuck he knows that, I still have no idea. And he tries to stop them. And do you know what? I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
It was really fun to watch. And honestly, you knew you were in for a treat when you heard the theme song, like initially. Oh. It was like this weird original Star Trek vibe, but also like at a party at Andy Warhol's house.
I know. And it had all the kaleidoscope sort of, that real late 60s. It's like, oh, man.
I thought it was hypnotizing me to tell me at the beginning with that weird swirly pattern as soon as it started was, this is a terrible movie, but you will love it.
Yes.
Because I did.
I know.
I loved it. Yeah, it was really ridiculous.
I loved it. And I fell in love with the main alien. Oh, my God. Oh, Irish. But I don't think I fell in love with her so much as I fell in love with her wig, actually.
Okay.
I think
the wig
it was
amazing.
Wig. The wig was so amazing. It was just like, I know now if I ever see a woman walking down the street with hair like that, I've only ever in my life seen one woman with hair like that in real life. Right?
She was
only
an
ever
alien.
once. She wasn't an
people
alien.
have hair like that.
Yeah. But I've only ever seen a person with hair like that. How do you describe that haircut? It's a peroxide bob, but very long.
It's a long platinum. Long platinum with bangs. That's it. It's a blunt cut. with bangs. It's platinum blonde. Yeah, I mean,
I just wanted to take the wig home. Like, leave the actress. I just want to take the wig.
Smashing in it too, Warren, honestly. You know what was so funny to me? One of the lines that she said when the astronauts came in, and she says, "Oh, we're trying to learn." You know, she wants to learn about them, and she invites one of the astronauts into her room where she changes clothes behind a screen,
and we see her in her bra. Ooh,
yeah, her bra, and then he says something to her, but she says, "Are you saying a naked girl would be of interest to a man?" And I just lost my mind. That basically summed up the entire movie.
Yes, it was out there. I have to admit that, but I love out there Italian spaghetti sci-fi. I love them. I just think they're brilliant. There's also
you have
something
to appreciate them for what they offer. I'm sorry, you just do.
There was also something that was a bit different about this one, though, and that was that normally in Italian spaghetti sci-fi, the model making is amazing. They're like Japanese, in the Godzilla movies and everything. Like, the model making is really good. Not so much in this one. I don't think they'd put money into that in this particular one. No.
But I feel like it was the style that they were going for.
Do you know what? Look, when I saw our main star, well, what's our main star? Supporting star? I don't know.
I don't know.
When I saw,
if it was the male, he's obviously the leading actor, and then she would have been listed down somewhere else. So
even though she was probably 20th in the place, she should have been number one. Because
probably
in that wig, in a bra. My afternoon was made. I was a happy gentleman, right? I was happy.
Disagree. I'm just going to say,
and I know that's really sexist and horrible, but you know what?
Warren, I just said I agreed with you.
Yeah,
would that be
okay,
sexist?
sorry, okay, right, okay. Hey, we're allowed to like looking at people,
I don't think anybody's arguing that. Look, my personal spirit is head-on, so I don't really have any problem with hedonism. So go ahead, man.
I was just going to say there's an old line which I used to think was said by a very famous Australian called Barry Humphries, but I've been latter told that it was not actually said by Barry Humphries. Oh. But I still think the line is amazing. And he was talking about Australian beaches. And Australian beaches, of course, are basically 99% topless in Australia. Right? Okay. So tops, we're talking about for women. Okay. Obviously men.
Well, obviously.
Okay. Right. So for women, it's, pretty much apart from the odd, very family friendly beach, every beach is topless in Australia these days. And he made the comment where he sort of said, what was it? To stare is rude. To not look would be impolite.
Oh, I agree with that.
And I thought, I reckon that sums it up. You know what I mean? Sort of bit like, I can appreciate your beauty, right? And, but at the same time, to ogle you, that's actually inappropriate. Right? So I get it.
Yeah, ogling is rude, but glance, go ahead and appreciate. I have no problem with that.
And I thought that sums it up, that kind of sums it up. Yeah, that sums it up.
I'll give you an example. Now, as a woman, let me tell you something. I've been to the gym a lot, okay? And I go to the gym, and especially, and on multiple occasions, but in one day in particular, there was a guy who was probably 20 years older than me or whatever, but he was across the entire gym, and the entire time that I was working out, he was staring at me, like in a way that was creepy. Okay, now normally,
but that's nasty though. Yeah.
Oh no, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like normally, look, I like being appreciated. I'm a woman who likes to work out. I like to make myself look good. I have no problem with people telling me if they think I look great. What I don't want is to be leered at from across the room. Okay, so over and over again, like through 2 hours, this man was across the room, and I finally, because I just literally couldn't take it anymore, I just went, "Why don't you just come over here and ask for my number?"
Yeah.
Okay. Like loud across the whole gym. And he turned his head and he just was like, and he left. And I thought, okay, good for you. Because don't make me feel creepy while I'm working out, if you are so freaking weak that you can't even come over here and say something to me, go ahead and appreciate it. But otherwise, turn your damn head and get back to what you're doing. That's all I'm going to say about that.
I think I told you the story about when I met my ex-partner, who, sadly, has passed away.
Yes.
One of my first drunken lines. Yes, I met my last partner when I was drunk as a skunk. Was, I think you're the most beautiful woman I have ever seen. But you know what? At least I was honest and upfront. I didn't sit there just. Do you know what I mean? I was honest.
She knew you were sincere, honey. That's what the big thing was, okay? That's why she didn't look at you and go, ew, go away.
Mind you, she was a pretty heavy drinker herself. She did love the vodka, so, Who
doesn't love vodka?
It's model, they all love their vodka. Anyway, I still remember my daughter, there was... there used to be on cable TV in Australia a channel called Fashion TV, which was just 24 hours of catwalks of various different fashion shows around the world.
Really?
Yeah, it was just 24 hours of catwalks, right? Yeah, I'm deadly serious. And occasionally they would have interviews with designers and models and, and stuff like that. And that's all it was,
they
right?
were intriguing and thrilling and really deep.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
I'm sorry. That was wrong of me.
We used to watch
women are not incessantly ignorant. I'm sorry.
No. But this is men models as well. It's not just. You're right. Okay.
Well, they're dumb as rocks.
I know.
I'm sorry.
Anyway,
I'm sorry. I don't mean that.
But we used to watch it quite a lot. Believe okay. And I can still remember they advertised it was fashion TV vodka. Right, but of course, there's no other spirit you can sell because models only drink vodka. Right, it is the drink of choice. Hence why
unless you mix some cocaine into some water.
Well, no, hence why an espresso martini is vodka, not gin.
Well,
right?
They're wrong. They're wrong.
What do you mean they're wrong? So we'll get to this in a second. But anyway, they were advertising fashion TV vodka. All right. So my daughter got online and ordered a bottle for Amanda. Right?
Oh, Lord.
That was the most perfect present she could possibly think of, was a bottle of fashion TV vodka. She actually got online and ordered it. So anyway.
And Amanda loved it, didn't she? Didn't she?
Oh, yeah, she did, actually.
Yeah, I know she did.
But anyway, but Anna, what were you saying about vodka wrong?
Look, I love vodka, but I really like gin. Oh. It's floral and beautiful.
Okay, so you're going to be British and Dutch. As they say, there's only two things in the world I hate: racism and the Dutch. Sorry, that's not. No. That's
quiet. I'm sorry.
That is a line from Austin Powers. That is not my opinion.
I
love
no.
The fucking Dutch.
I don't mean the Swedish. I said that wrong. I meant Swiss. I don't like Swiss. Them. I'm sorry.
How do you not like the fucking Swiss?
You know what it is? Honestly, I went on one cruise, and the people right next to us, they were Swiss. And they had zero facial expressions, and they just had zero personality. And I thought, you guys are too serious, and I can't sit 3 inches from you while I'm eating a steak. So that was the problem. It really has nothing to do with the Swiss people in general. It was literally just those.
But the Swiss, although the Swiss, everyone thinks the Swiss are like the Germans or the Austrians. Everyone lumps the Swiss in, and they forget that Switzerland is a multicultural nation.
Absolutely,
right?
No, I love right. Germans.
It's like my mother, right? Okay, so my mother still calls herself German. Right, and my father goes Swiss, and she goes, no, German. It's because her canton, right, because she's from Zurich, right? So the whole idea is, oh, no, it's German, right? And so it's like, and my father goes, oh, no, Swiss, and she goes, German, right? So anyway, but it's the humour's there. The problem is, I reckon if you don't understand Germanic humour, it's like if you watch a lot of German films, you don't see the humor, But once you spend time with any Germans, you start to see the humour. Like, it's not, I don't know. It's like, it's not an obvious humour. It's like German humour is either, it's in your face so hard, right, that it blows the back of your brains out, or it's really subtle.
Right. I agree with
the French. The French are like that. They're actually not that different. French. Well, you think
that's why they like Jerry Lewis.
They love Jerry Lewis, but then you watch the stuff they actually make themselves, and some of it,
it's dry and dark.
Or it's all about the writing. It's all about. I remember going to the cinema to watch a French movie in the 80s called As Thick as Thieves. One of the funniest movies I've ever seen. About these 4 guys. Have you seen it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's about these 4 guys who all went to school together, all right? 3 of them have become self-made millionaires. And the 4th one still lives with his mother. He's trying so hard to be rich, but it never works. He signs a deal with a 5th guy that they went to school with, who is a criminal, basically, and he rips him off. So the other 3 decide they have to steal the papers from his house so the contract never goes through. Well, of course, they're not criminals, they're businessmen, right? So they make a total mess of it and then have to go onto the run in a French village, like in a rural French village. It is the funniest film. Like, it is absolutely hilarious.
Can you send me a link to that? I haven't.
I'll have to find it. Yeah,
see if you can find me one, and I'll watch it. Yeah, I'm curious now. That's awesome.
Well, I still remember when I think it was 14. There was in Australia. There's a TV station called the SBS, which is the Special Broadcasting Service, and they back then only played movies that were not in English. Right?
Oh. Okay.
So no American films. Occasionally you might have got something from Canada or Britain, but generally not. It was all stuff. So we got tons of Japanese movies, Chinese movies, German, French, Italian. And I still remember they played this Italian miniseries called The Criminal Jazz Band. It was set in the 1950s in Italy, where there was quite a divide between communism and I suppose what would be seen as the right-wing government of the time in Italy, and a university student and his love of jazz. And he tries to form a jazz band while all of this is going on in the background. And it was hilarious. It was so funny. And I think it was about 3 or 4 episodes. Each episode was like a movie long. It was an hour and a half or something. And my father and I we saw the first one by accident and we fell in love with it. And my father and I literally made a date. Like, it's Wednesday, 8:30. All right, everything stops. And the 2 of us sat back and we watched this show and we loved it. Right.
That's awesome.
Even though it was in Italian, right? So we had to read the subtitles. And we were there going, laughing away and all the rest of it. And it was, great
Isn't
memories.
that a lovely memory to have with your dad?
It is. It is.
Isn't it, though?
Yeah, it is. So yeah.
I had that with my dad. Yeah, we used to watch movies on Sunday when we lived together after my parents' divorce. It would be raining or whatever. We'd always watch really old movies, John Wayne films, Cary Grant, like just all these old things that I probably wouldn't have watched on my own. But I did really appreciate the time I spent with him doing that. So yeah, that's awesome that you did that, and the movie sounds cool.
It's only one memory. Unfortunately, we never repeated the exercise, but it was. He was still a great. No, I shouldn't say that. My father is a wonderful man. He is a great man.
Nobody's questioning that here. You don't have to feel sorry for saying
but it was kind of a one-off experience, though. That, yeah.
That's why it really stands out to you, because there are some moments that we only get 1 or 2 times in our lifetime, and those things hopefully make an impression on you as long as they're positive. So that sounds like it was, and I'm glad you had that.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
No. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we should take a very quick break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Well, we are back. Yes, we are. Oh, well, that was that. Do you know what, Irish?
What?
Did you enjoy your time in the TARDIS? How we suddenly did the timey-wimey thing, and there's no concept of time and reality anymore because, I swear we just broke from this conversation 2 hours ago. But, maybe it's just me. I don't know. But
it's bigger on the inside. I don't know.
That's exactly right. It's bigger on the inside.
I don't know what you're talking
Let's just say that. It's bigger on the inside. That's what she said. I can't believe I said that. Oh, my God, I said that.
Okay, stop it. We're not allowed to do that. I don't know what you were doing, but don't.
I don't. There is a line which is said, it's a guy I worked with who says it all the time, and it drives me nuts.
And that's why they say it, honey, because they know that.
Honestly, it is. That's what she said is the most pathetically dumb joke ever said in the world. It is just pathetic. And anyone who says it
every goddamn time.
And anyone who says it is pathetic. It's just, I know. Anyway, hey, but I'll tell you what, news from your part of the world. Your part of the world, Irish. Can I do the...
Bring it on, man.
You just put some people into space. Woohoo! You just put some people into space.
Well, me personally, no.
Well, not you personally.
I'd be open to it, but no.
Yeah,
America finally did a commercial thing, and with NASA combined, and cool. I believe in space exploration. Oh, dude, I've had too much wine.
Hey, go for it. We're going to talk about ancient aliens in a second, so don't worry. Hey, it's all good.
Oh my God! Oh my Lord. That was the other thing I was going to tell you, but I can't now because we're on air. No,
go for it. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Hey, later.
All right. What do you think? Good thing. Private space launch for NASA, or should we go back to the old days of government space launch? What do you reckon? I
love the idea of government space launch. I love the idea of the people being behind what we're doing.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, I mean, Bush killed our shuttle program, which nobody knows why. So, at this point, I'm open to other, commercial entities doing it. I don't love Elon Musk. Is that right? Did I say
No, you're right. Don't worry. You don't
Did I
love
say
him.
It right? Because, Jesus Christ.
You just made it sound like you wanted to have an affair with him, but apart from that, it's all good.
Oh, no. Lord. No, I don't.
No. But we get what you're saying. We get what you're saying. The concept, the man himself. Don't worry. Okay. We get what you're saying.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, I'm going to say ew, no, and now I'm kind of grossed out and dry.
Wouldn't anyone? I mean, seriously.
I'm sorry, that was wrong of me to say.
That really is a bit like, ugh.
What I think is that being a billionaire is pretty fucking immoral, but if you're going to use your money to do things for society, okay, I get that. That's great. Stop putting your cars into things. Literally the only thing you did was have money and put it into stuff. So I don't love that, but I love money being into a space program. I love the shuttle launches. I love the rocket launches. I love the concept of us exploring further than where we are. When I did the extras on From the Earth to the Moon, which was a HBO miniseries, and we started shooting that in 97, I believe. I think it was on air in 98, and I think you can find it on demand on HBO right now. Most of the series. There's 2 episodes that for some reason weren't on there, but I don't know why. But I loved being there and experiencing those things. I loved seeing the innovation of man and the fact that, honestly, that we sent people to the moon with computers that held less data than the cell phones we hold in our hands every day is amazing to me.
Okay, a cell phone. Forget your cell phone.
Yeah.
Ready for this? Let's go really back. Do you know the computer in the Apollo... well, it's not the Apollo. What was the space actual craft that went to the moon? It wasn't the Apollo. It was
Gemini.
Gemini, which
here in America we say Gemini for some reason, which is weird.
Well, Gemini,
wrong.
whichever was the Gemini that went to the moon, right? The computer that was in that Gemini spacecraft was smaller than a 1980s computer in a car. A
Absolutely.
1980s computer. Yes. Not today, a 40-year-old car.
Isn't that crazy?
Right? That's how small it was. You know, it was literally it blows your mind. I mean, the going to the moon really was in 1969. I'm stunned, like how you could go to the moon in 1969, right? And in 1971, they can't get people to watch the fucking launches, right?
I mean, for you, man,
like
right?
how, like but it's the world. It's not just America. It's the world, right?
Yeah.
Like seriously, guys, 1969 put 2 people on the fucking moon. Do you not realize how important that was? And to anyone who says it didn't happen. Can I just have one? I just have one thing to say. I just have one thing to say.
Mm-hmm.
I fart in your general direction.
You know what? We've had this discussion off air before.
There is a fucking mirror up there. They planted a fucking mirror, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
We know. And also, if it didn't happen, why did the Soviets not say something? Do you think they would have had something to say at that point in 1969? The Soviets accepted it to be true? Really? The Soviets said it was real, but conspiracy theorists said, oh, no.
Well, I am mostly not a conspiracy theorist about most things. There's a few things that, just because they say it's a conspiracy doesn't mean it's not true. But this thing, I agree with you. We absolutely went to the moon when we said we did. Now, I have people that I will admit are in my own family.
I know. And, that's okay.
I don't.
Yes,
stop.
Right.
Nope. Just be quiet. We're going to behave.
Yeah.
That don't believe that we actually, the first time we landed on the moon, actually did it. They do believe that we landed on the moon at some point, but they think that we cheated.
But what's the difference between Apollo 11 and Apollo 12? What's the fucking difference, right? I mean, so they're saying Apollo 11 is fake and Apollo 12 is real.
I cannot tell you what the thought process is behind this.
So 1969 is fake, but 1970 is real.
What they thought was this is what I'm told by them.
Okay, right.
Okay, the Russians, they had put something up in space. They did the dogs, and they got up into put the first man in orbit, and that was a big thing. And at the time,
the Soviets were kind of in advance of the Americans for most of the space race. That's true.
Okay, so yes,
that is true.
So taking that into consideration, with a conspiracy theory type of mind, a person who thinks they know more than everybody else, that they get something other people don't. That's the end of that. They actually think that we faked it the first time to beat the Russians. Right. And then after that, at the time, we were still really trying to get there, but we hadn't really done it. We faked it the first time. I'm going to tell you right now that I know astronauts have punched people in their faces for saying such a thing.
Yeah, who was the second man on the moon? Who was the second man on the moon? Buzz Aldrin. Buzz Aldrin, from my understanding, has punched 2 people in the face.
Oh, and they
physically punched
That's
2
all
people
I'm
in the face.
Say. I'm sorry, that was wrong.
Right, okay. No.
Violence, no.
Okay. Now, we do know that the Soviets did have a lunar rocket which did explode in 1969. So, in other words, they were planning a lunar mission.
Oh, absolutely. We were racing.
Their rocket did actually explode literally on takeoff, which threw them back about another 18 months, right? So the problem was that then the United States beat them. Now, could it have been a situation that could the Soviets have got there first? Fucking oath, right? It was a close run thing. I mean, it really was. But did the Americans? Fuck yes, Apollo 11 happened. For Christ's sake, Neil Armstrong was the first human to step on the moon. Yes, all right.
I agree with you. Yes.
You know, end of story. There was none of this bullshit. It just happened, right? Ancient aliens and all the rest of it. Right,
God damn, let me tell you, it makes me upset when people tell me that it didn't happen. So, yeah.
It's like they say the pyramids. Oh, they're so amazing. We don't understand how they were built. They must have been built by aliens. No, we fucking understand how they were built. Ask any Egyptologist. They will tell you how they were built. Just because you don't personally understand doesn't mean that you can say it was built by aliens. Why don't you talk to a fucking expert? Rather, it's like 9/11, okay? Now, I realise there are some things about 9/11 which are a little bit iffy. Don't get me wrong. Okay,
a few,
right, do not get me wrong. However, did an aeroplane fly into that building? For fuck's sake. Okay. First, we have the video footage from numerous sources. Two, speak to any fucking building engineer, any architect. They will tell you how, and all this shit about we heard the explosions before the floors collapsed. Okay, speak to a fucking architect. I'm an engineer. I'm a fucking engineer. I went to RM, the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology.
Very exciting.
Okay? Do you know what you're hearing? The floors collapsing on themselves, fucking 20 floors above. Yes, you are hearing explosions. The floors are fucking collapsing on themselves.
Oh, no, I don't disagree with you. Can I tell you something? The day that happened was my second day that I gotten hired as a vacation. Like, I was on the phone to book people's vacations for British Airways.
Oh, really? Wow.
Oh, yes. It was my second day of training, and we were in the training room. And one of our trainers came in. We're doing all the things like learn how to put all the codes in. We're doing the stuff. And she comes in and she's freaking out. And she told us what happened. And we went into the break room and we saw what happened. And I knew right before the first building collapsed, like you could see what was happening at the top of the building. And then it just collapsed. I said right at the time, I was like, that's going to go down. And it did.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second thing hit. But we were like, that was a weird day. Like, I was actually the second day in my training for an airline job, even though I wasn't in the air. You know what I'm saying? So it was like really bizarre, and we didn't know what was going to happen.
Can I tell you a story? I was in Australia at the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
not in America, in Australia. And
shocking.
And yeah,
that's where you're from.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It happened about 11 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m.
Yeah.
Right, Australian time, right?
Right.
Or actually the day before, technically, if you get what I'm trying to say, right? It was the day before.
Well, it was.
Right, so for us, it was September 10. For Australians, it was September 10, not September 11. Right, so anyway,
right?
so
is that right? I thought you guys were before us.
Oh, no, it was September 12th.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was confused.
Anyway,
all right, go ahead.
You get what I'm trying to say? There's a time difference, right?
Yeah, it was a time difference.
Anyway,
yes.
And I was watching television. I still remember this. I was living in a house in Bots Hill. If you live in Melbourne, you know where Bots Hill is in Australia, right? It's an old German suburb. You know where it is, right? So anyway, I was living there, and suddenly, I don't know what the fuck I was watching. I don't even remember, to be honest. But suddenly it stopped. It all stopped. All the coverage stopped. And suddenly it was just news. It was like a plane's flown into the World Trade Center, right? And all the movies and the shows just stopped. And every channel just went. And this is in Australia, right? All went to news, right? And then the second one hit. right? And the first one was an accident.
That's what we all thought too. We were like, "Oh shit, what happened?"
Because you remember too, the Empire State Building had planes fly into it before, right? So
they were built to withstand that shit. Yeah.
Well, that was another argument.
I know. I don't. Yeah. I don't want to. Yeah.
Which Australians have had for a long time. Which is if the World Trade Center had been built to Australian standards, it would not have collapsed. Okay. But that's another argument. Anyway,
that's a whole other.
That's another argument, and that has a lot to do with. Anyway, well, I'm not going to go down that path right now.
Let's not.
No. And anyway, so and I can remember we were living in this. It was a temporary thing. We were only there for about 18 months, right? It was between houses, right? And I can still remember it had paper thin walls. You'd hear everything from next door, right? I knew everything about the sex life of the couple behind me. It was like, give it to me, big boy. Give it to me, right? You know what I mean? Right? I knew everything. But I can still remember on the night of 9/11, all I could hear was this incredible crying coming from the other side. It was one of the most emotional things I can remember. I remember it was happening, and I remember going into the bedroom where our wall, literally, we shared a wall, if you like, right? And I could hear coming from the other side. It was always the joke that we shared our sex lives, right? But suddenly, now, instead of sharing our sex lives, what I could hear coming from this was all those thousands of people. This is, oh my God, dope. And this woman was going into meltdown, and her husband was trying to console her. You know what I mean? And it was so fucking emotionally horrible.
Oh my God,
Now, I'm not even going to put this into terms to now relate this back to if you were American. This was just an Australian.
That's as a person. Right. Yeah, as a human.
This is an Australian perspective. And it would, I didn't even know. We're not arguing any of that. I mean,
I'm going to say I'm not laughing because it's funny, but I'm saying I'm laughing because at this point, you and I are both at the point where you understand there's almost no way to actually verbalize the shit you're talking about.
It's not.
There's not.
Sometimes you have a situation where it's a little bit like you can have a terrorist act that kills 2 people, and we talk about it. You have a terrorist act that kills 1,500 people. I can't discuss this. How the fuck do we talk about it? You know what I mean?
It's hard. It's hard to talk about.
And not only
right?
just kill people, but kill a city. Do you know what I mean? Well, actually, I would argue that the city was not killed. It actually relived. It rebirthed. I would argue.
I think that when things that are detrimental to the American people happen, the majority of our citizens, and there's always going to be 1/3 of our country who will have no problem killing another 1/3 of our country while another 1/3 of our country watches in silence. Like I think
COVID-19. Sorry.
Well, and everything else, honestly. And I know, everything else.
Well, but realistically, let's look back. I mean, this is an amazing concept, right? Okay, 9/11. Americans come together as one people. The Blitz in London, British come together as one people. Okay? All right? We have other scenarios around the world where we bond together.
Yes.
Why now? When we know what the fuck is going on, it's scientifically provable. Are we now questioning the concept of the fact that there is a problem?
Oh, we're not questioning it here. The majority of our citizens here actually. No. I'm not saying. The majority of our citizens here, I think, recognize the danger in which we're in. But part of the problem is here, unlike you guys in Australia, where you have voting that's required, it's mandatory.
Yes, okay? It's compulsory.
Okay, it's compulsory voting. Here, it is a right, but a privilege in a sense. And people, when I see other countries going out and standing in line and risking their lives to get their finger dipped in ink to show that they voted, and I see that only 35% or 40% of, like, and that's a lot, like 30% of our entire nation votes.
Yeah.
I have a real problem with that. I have a real problem with us not understanding how important it is. That it's not just a right, but it's a necessity. Like, they don't get it. And also, we have one entire party in our country that used to be the ones who pretended that they were the party of family values, and they were the ones that were all about America and standing by the Constitution and all these things. They're the ones who have now flipped.
Have they defended a lot of pedophiles? I mean, be honest with you.
Dude, I don't even.
I mean, seriously, haven't they defended a lot of pedophiles?
Dear God, yes. And I don't even know. We have a guy in our Congress right now, Representative Jim Jordan, who worked. Okay, he worked in a university where over and over again, like, boys complained that the doctor at their college was he was sexually abusing them. They came to Jim Jordan, who was an assistant coach, and told him, and he kept it secret. He quieted it down. They're still trying to get some noise about it. They're still trying to get some attention, but he's still in fucking Congress.
See, I
this
think
is a guy who
that's
who
appalling.
he didn't just excuse it. I don't even know what's going on with our fucking country. I don't.
I don't know if I would say that I am lucky or if it's disgusting. I don't know. You tell me, right? In Australia, sexual abuse is not linked to one particular party. In other words, both parties have equal levels of sexual abuse. Oh, right.
Okay.
So there's not one party is not more worse than the other, if you get what I'm saying. So the left wing and the right wing are equal, right? So in a sense, and this is the difficulty with it, even though I think those people actually in Australia tend to actually see justice far more than they do in America. But the problem with it is that when you have both sides committing the acts, no one complains.
Oh,
if you get, do you get what I'm saying? Because the left can't complain about the right because they're doing it, and the right can't complain about the left. Okay, so the problem is that if they're both doing it, they get away with it. I would rather see one side do it and the other one attack them, because at least maybe it'd stop it. The problem in Australia, and I'll be honest with you, Australia, you're fucked. Right, in this in this level, because the parties are so similar, right? They're so similar, right? Australia is a conglomerate of centralist parties, right? So, in other words, the left and the right disagree by a couple of millimeters, maybe a centimeter, maybe an inch. Maybe an inch and a half. Oh, that's right. They're so similar. But everybody
in your country is kind of left wing, but also
by American standards, even our right wing is left wing by your standards.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I get you.
Now, so it's by your standards, though. You have to. Put
we're morons.
Right,
I know. I get you.
If you speak to an Australian, they will say the Liberal Party is right wing, right? But an American will say, "How the fuck?" Right? Okay. So you've got to put it into perspective. But the thing is that sexual assault is across both parties.
Holy shit, yes.
Right, okay, it's both parties, and it's always, let's face it, it's not about politics here, about left and right. It's about fucking men. Let's be honest, I'm a man. I'm sorry, I'm a man, and I will say, we are fucked. There are so many of us who do the wrong thing, right?
Yeah.
We really do. Yeah. And you know, here's the other thing. You know, sometimes I've done the wrong thing. I'll be honest. I've maybe put my hand in the wrong place. Do you know what I mean? I have maybe said something that wasn't really the way I should have said it, right? Okay.
Right?
Okay. We're all guilty, but there is a guilty between doing shit like that and raping people.
Yeah,
right?
okay. So,
it's not
so I'm
fucking
say
the same thing, right? It's not the same fucking thing.
It's not. And I'm going to say this to you. I've had a lot of experiences in my life, and we've talked about a few of them that I'm not going to go into, but
no, I know.
On a more surface level, my experience with men in general has been to be objectified. So here's the thing. I have had two different experiences that I will talk about right now on two different sets.
You really want to go down this path?
Oh, yeah. No, it's not bad. I've talked about it on my... it's bad, but it's not like... it's not the other stuff we've talked about. So, what I want to talk about are the two experiences I've had with people who were considered celebrities on the set. Men, okay, who thought that their celebrity allowed them certain privileges with me. Okay? Mm-hmm. So the first one was, and I'm going to tell you right now, I still brag about this, okay? Because this wasn't a person who put their hands on me, okay? But I was a little bit objectified, and I'm going to just say I wasn't feeling bad about it that day.
Right.
I'm just going to say, okay.
Yeah.
So I worked on the show Armageddon, which no. I'm sorry, that's not the wrong one. That's the wrong one. Armageddon, I did work on that one. That's the other story. The one I want to tell you about was when I was on the show Instinct. It was a film that we did here with Anthony Hopkins and Cuba Gooding Jr. Yeah. Okay. A lot of people didn't see that film. John Turteltaub directed it. It was a brilliant film. And actually, we turned down at the time. There was so much stuff going on in Orlando at the time for film and TV production. We turned down Adam Sandler's Waterboy so that we could shoot this film Instinct with Anthony Hopkins because we thought, oh, Anthony Hopkins, Jesus Christ. Yeah, you want to shoot with him. And Adam Sandler, whoever. So, and I don't mean that wrong. I'm just saying we made our choices and we went with it. Okay. Versus Sir Anthony Hopkins. I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
So, we did the extras on both of those shows. Okay. Extras are really important. You got to have them look the right way, and they got to you do hard work and you're there, but you don't have to be on set every minute. But sometimes we'd go to set to check on things. So one day, and I worked with my mother at this point. We were both working as a team, and we went to the set. And we're on the back lot, and we're walking through where the trailers are. And at the moment, Cuba Gooding Jr., who was the lead on the show, even though he wasn't necessarily the biggest star, he was like the main character in the series. He's standing in his trailer doorway talking on the phone. And I'm going to brag a little bit. Okay?
Oh, go for it. Yeah, no,
I'm going to do it. Okay. I still have these pants, too. I'm sorry.
I can give you some Australian brands. Not that anyone in Poland will care less, but I can give you some Australian brands,
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and brag a little.
Right.
As we walked down the way, I was wearing, that day, a pair of platform-style, like 70s sandals and a pair of brown velvet bell-bottom corduroy pants. Okay. They were stretchy and they fit me really well. And another shirt on top of it was kind of, it was a midriff top, but because I'm not going to do that. Yeah. Because I'm, but it covered me, but it was still kind of a 70s vibe. And as we walked past his trailer, he's on the phone. He's talking on the phone. We can hear him. We're just walking and he goes, "Good God." Like that. As we walked past. And he turned around because we were like, what the fuck? We turned around to see it's him. And he's standing in his trailer door and he had put the phone down at his side. And it was literally about the way I looked in the pants. Okay. He didn't know me. He didn't fucking know me.
I don't know if that's good or bad. You know what I mean?
I'm going to say to you, that was a moment that in my mind, I still don't mind being objectified about. Okay. Because that was literally just somebody appreciating me from a distance, okay?
Can I tell you about when I met Martika?
In a minute.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I know Martha Ferrero. Holy shit, yes. Okay, but that's a whole other story.
Okay, yeah, right, okay.
Let me finish this. The other issue is the reverse of that.
Right.
Was on the set of Armageddon. Did you see that movie with Willis?
Can I just say I didn't like it very much? I think it's a bit of a bullshit movie, to be honest. But
I agree with you. That has nothing to do with anything. I got hired to do extras.
I want to get this right. It is more difficult to train astronauts to drill, to use a drill, than to get drillers to become astronauts.
Can we not get into a philosophical discussion about the concept of the film? It was Michael Bay, and dear God, I would never work on another one.
No, I'm sorry.
I don't even want to go there.
Sums it up. Michael Vey, if he's not trying to have sexual intercourse with one of the 18-year-old interns who were on the set, it's not a Michael Vey film, right? Michael Vey. I'm sorry. I will say it, and you can sue me if you like. Michael Vey only makes movies to have sets with 18-year-old women. That's all. The only reason he makes movies. That's it.
Okay, so I don't have any concept of that.
I do, but anyway.
That's great. Okay. Right. He's a dick, and I have a whole other story about that.
He's a dick.
But,
I know. I know.
My mother and I were booked to do all the extras for Florida, on Armageddon. When they came here and they were going to the Kennedy Space Center. Yeah. And we had 7 days of shooting. We needed 600 extras each day that were really specific. So we worked our asses off on that show, So there's a day that I'm out on the set, and we have, they're shooting, and I'm standing along the line just outside of camera with, probably 50 other people watching this scene be shot as they're coming in. And I'm right on the front row. So I'm watching everything, and I'm looking ahead of me, and all of a sudden I see in my peripheral vision somebody steps up right next to me. I didn't look at them because I didn't give a shit. But all of a sudden, a hand from that person reached up underneath me with a force that I was not expecting and grabbed a handful of the right side of my ass.
What?
And squeezed it. Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah. So.
Was it Donald Trump?
No.
I was just curious. I just wanted to know. Okay,
no.
Sorry. Yeah, right, yeah.
Ever?
No. Sorry, I just wanted to add a bit of levity. Yeah, don't. Yeah.
I got a name to drop, and that's wrong.
Okay, so all right, sorry. I just wanted to add a bit of levity to this. Yeah, okay, yeah, go on. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have puked if it was Trump. But anyway,
everyone would.
As this happened,
slept with him.
I got scooped up underneath and kind of almost lifted off my feet because it was such a hard smack.
Right. Yeah.
And I didn't blink. There was this thing that just happened to me, and I just reached my hand up and punched sideways, whap.
Yeah.
The person in the chest. Okay.
Right.
I had no idea who it was.
Right.
And I walked away afterwards, and I had a group of my extras that I have worked with tons before that. They knew me. They said to me, "Oh my God, you just punched Steve Buscemi." And I said, "Please stop. Listen."
What, are you for real?
Listen, I didn't know who the fuck he was. And I looked down at my list.
Are you sorry? He grabbed you. Are you serious?
He grabbed up a handful of my ass in a way that no one has ever done before.
Oh my!
It was like a pop and lift.
Okay, I can't now watch The Death of Stalin. That's fucking it. That's it. Right?
So this was the thing.
I thought he was amazing. I thought he was brilliant. In fact, he even did a skit. On fucking SNL about being a sexual predator. He actually did a fucking sketch about being a sexual predator.
Let me just tell you something. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know the name, okay? And when my extra said to me, "You just punched Steve Buscemi in the chest," you know what I did? I looked at my clipboard and I started going through all the names that were alphabetical of my extras. And I said, "Who the fuck is this? He's never coming back to my set." And they went, no. Didn't you see Reservoir Dogs? And I went, well, yes. And they said, well, he was Mr. Pink. Okay. And this moment of listen,
grabbed you.
Oh, dude, we had never met.
Okay.
And okay. So he did this, and I said to them as I looked down, and they said, "No, Mr. Pink." And I looked at them, and it was like this moment where I was like, "Holy shit!" And I looked at them, I said, "Well, Mr. Pink just grabbed my ass." And I thought
he just thought he could do it because he just thought he could do it.
Yeah, absolutely. We had never been fucking introduced. Never.
Well, it's not even a question of being introduced. You can't just say, hi, I am fucking Steve. May I fucking feel your ass up? I mean, it doesn't work like that.
I think that was the way to flirt with me. Like, if he did that and I turned around and he saw me, like, if I saw him, I think he really literally thought that I was going to smirk and, like, dude,
he was a famous actor, and you would go, oh, I'm so honoured that you actually felt me up. Do you think that's what it was?
Well, probably.
Well, then why else would he do it?
I think that people no, I believe you. I think that people in that situation think they're more than they are. But let me tell you something. Okay. I didn't know who the fuck he was when they said his name. Okay. So how would I given a shit if some ugly little troll had put his hand up?
He's not exactly known as a leading actor. He's not known as a leading man, if you know what I mean.
Oh,
no, don't get me wrong. He's not an ugly man, but I mean, you get what I'm trying to say. Well, he is.
Ugly.
Well, he is from what I've just now heard.
Well, I don't.
Right?
Yeah, I don't mean like necessarily.
No. I'm sorry. If anyone's going to if anyone's going to put their hand between the legs of one of my friends, yeah, I'm going to fucking call him an asshole. Yes. Okay.
Yeah. If it wasn't,
yes.
Sure.
Yeah,
like,
of course. You right? It's a little bit like I had one of my friends in the early thousands. All right.
Yeah.
And it was a very weird situation where I was between relationships. All right. And I was very fond of this woman. All right. I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. All right. I was very fond of this woman.
Yeah. Don't.
Right. Okay. And anyway, but. We're at a nightclub, all right, and I'm not her boyfriend, all right. I'm in the friend zone, right? You know, which is not where you want to be, right? Okay, and which is just like, guys, just fucking as soon as you realise that, make the exception and move on, right? Just seriously, it's not because you're never going to win, all right? You're never going to win, all right? And anyway, I was not one of those guys that ever realised I was going to win. I always thought I was going to win. You know what I mean? And anyway, so I'm there anyway, and my friend who was a Singaporean national living in Australia, and she came back and she goes, I've just been fucking assaulted, right, by this guy. This guy was a guy, Dipper Menico, right? He was an Australian football player, well known, all right?
Ooh,
and I'm going to say this, and if you want to sue me, fucking sue me, all right? Because I'll tell you what, I can track her down, all right? I can track her down, and if you want this to go to court, we can go to court, all right? So, all right. And anyway, so, and he just walked up to her, and just fucking fondled her because why? Because he was a famous football player.
Donald Trump. He said when you're famous, you can do it. You can do it. You can grab him by the pussy or whatever. Come on.
Yeah. So this shit happens, and I don't even want to tell you about my ex-partner, about the shit that happened to her, which I think that's maybe more for an, let's just say, pay-for-view fucking session, to be honest with you. I don't really want to go into that into general public. Things that happen to her in public. So, look, if he did something like that, I've now got a real problem with his fucking movies. I really do, actually.
Oh, yeah.
I'm really...
So there was something on recently that I was enjoying watching because it had Daniel Radcliffe in it, and I love the Harry Potter shit, and I'm just a geek. But it was hard for me. Like, I couldn't watch the first season of his show, and then I did the second season, and I didn't hate it, and I thought, oh, I hate you, but I don't hate the show, and it's really kind of funny. So, look, I am understanding that people are people, and sometimes we do shit, or we say things that are like...
We do shit. We don't sexually assault people in public. Okay, there's a difference. Okay, I'm sorry. Have I ever done the wrong thing? All right. Have I ever put my arm around a woman that I shouldn't have? Yes, I'll be honest with you, I have.
Everybody has done those things, yeah.
Okay. Have I ever said something, maybe done a little bit aggressive in a situation that I shouldn't have? Yes, I have. Okay, yes, I have. Right, in a business sense, right?
Yeah.
So have I ever done everything that we say is totally PC, unfriendly with people and totally unfeminist? No, I have. However, I have not tried to grab a woman by the beep, right?
You can say pussy, it's all right. You said cunt to me earlier, it's fine.
Oh, yeah, that's not fair. Okay. All right, I've not tried to grab a woman by the pussy, all right? Okay?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Do you know what? There is a difference. Right? There is a huge difference between people making mistakes. In other words, people learning where boundaries are because they were born in situation A and they are living in situation B. All right?
Yes.
And this is the thing that does piss me off a little bit, and goes in reverse, which is a bit, let's say, oh, Grandpa patted my bottom. Grandpa is 95 years old. You're 19. Grandpa doesn't understand. Yeah. Just fucking forget it and move on. Right? Okay.
Yeah,
however,
so I get what you're saying. No,
there is a big difference between I went to meet my boyfriend's father.
Yeah.
And he was 42 and he patted me on the bottom. That's a fucking difference. Right?
Oh, no, so I get that. Yeah.
It's not the same thing. There are certain things where I would give a free pass.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But
I get you,
do you get where I'm trying to go with all of this, or am I being stupid?
Well, I mean, I could call you stupid all I want because I think that about me in general, but that doesn't mean that I don't agree with what you're saying. Listen. No, seriously. Like, I want you to understand something. My dad had a stroke. It was a bad stroke. And he wasn't that old, right? And my mother and him were divorced already. But after he had a stroke, he could no longer speak except for the words to and shit. And that's a whole other story. But what he could do was move his left side, and he couldn't really communicate in the way that you would think someone could, even if they weren't verbal.
No shit. He didn't even. I'm sorry, mate.
I better say we're listening to that was Irish, the Dalek version. You're back.
Okay, sorry, that was my
exterminate. That's
really exciting. Right. Stop it, Matt Smith and everything. Shh, no, I'm not going to go there. Anyway, so my dad had the stroke. Okay,
I would love to know about your love.
Warren,
sorry. All right.
No. Behave.
Oh, sorry.
Period. Okay. So anyway, my father. I'm drunk. I'm sorry. He had this affinity for my mother even after they had divorced. And he had the stroke. And one time, and my mother was really wonderful. She was already married to somebody else. They'd been married for years, but he didn't even have a problem with this because when my dad before he had a stroke, he let him into their home, and they accepted him and all these things so that my son could have holidays with his whole family. And I'm going to admit, Mike, who was my stepdad, was an amazing person who did things I probably never could have done. So anyway, my mom would go to my dad, who was in a nursing home after a stroke in Largo, Florida, at the VA hospital. And she'd go there because she was closer than I was, like probably once a week to see him. And they had been divorced since I was 17. That's when they got divorced. As soon as I graduated high school, my mother left him. That's a whole other thing. Anyway, after he had his stroke, and I was Noah was probably 6. I'm in my 30s at this point. And Mike, my stepdad, was totally fine with my mom going to visit him at the hospital in Largo every week to make sure he had what he needed. They bought him furniture, they bought him clothes, they bought him everything he needed, which was amazing. But one day, he's talking to my mom, like my mom's talking to him. She's leaning down, she's doing something for him, and he reaches up and looks at her and just grabs her by the boob.
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
Listen. Yeah. Okay. My dad was still who he was. And my dad never stopped loving Mom, ever. Like, ever. She left him because of a lot of issues he had, like, personally. And, yeah, he was a good guy, but he never stopped loving her. So there was these moments where he would reach out and, like, grab her, and she'd just be like, no, behave yourself. And it was like, okay, I'm so sorry. Even though he couldn't speak, it was like, okay, I get it. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but there's also the concepts where people lose the idea of where they're at. I'll give you an example, right?
He knew where he was, dude. He did.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a bit different. If he knew where he was, that's that's not. If you don't understand, like I have heard stories of mothers hitting on their sons or grandsons, and fathers hitting on their daughters or granddaughters because they're physically in Alzheimer's and fucking don't know who the person is. Right? Now, I have heard of these situations happening. Yes. However, yes, it's pretty rare, right?
Well,
however,
you just go, stop that and don't ever do it again. Well, that's what you do. And then you put yourself in
but I'll give you an example. I still remember my daughter when she was, I don't know how old, 4 years old, 5 years old, right?
Yeah.
And she would spend time with my grandmother just before she died. She died a couple of years after that, right? And she would spend a day with my grandmother, which was actually, in retrospect, a really dangerous fucking thing to do. But anyway, right, okay. But anyway, so she was there, and we would learn that. We would learn that, and we would stop. Okay. We would stop it, right? But we would learn that and stop it. But before we learnt that, my daughter would come back from my grandmother's house, right, speaking fucking German. Right? All right. So my daughter would come back home speaking German, and it's like, and we suddenly realised that when she was there, they lived in a German world. They only spoke German, right?
Yeah.
Because my grandmother fell back to, as far as she was concerned, they were living in Zurich. She had no idea they were in Australia. As far as she was concerned, they were in Zurich, Switzerland. And basically, so she was speaking...
Dementia,
Right, so she was speaking German. And so my daughter would be there. And so she would... And of course, they're so young, they pick it up. Right? So they pick it up, right? And so she would start... It was pretty easy. She'd pick it up, right? And the other thing, too, it wasn't every word. There would still be the odd word in English, like would come through, right?
It's like Spanglish here. We have Spanish. They speak Spanglish.
Yeah. And so it was really, really weird. And we'd spend months, like she'd come back and she'd be sort of going, she'd be speaking German and couldn't work it out. And we finally worked it all out. And so the thing is that people do weird things when they get old, is all I will say.
No, Dad's brain wasn't right. It's just like... he was just still horny. But
there's a difference between being old and horny. Yes, there's a difference between being old and horny and being fucking sick, if you get what I'm saying,
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Everybody's gonna think we're nuts, but honestly,
they already do. So don't worry.
If we were on the couch in the same room, this is what the shit we've been talking about. Hey, feel happy that you're in the room with us.
Look, we've already broken out the corn chips. We've already got the corn chips out. And I'll tell you what. Here's an interesting thing. Before we go into the nets, we'll take a quick break and go into the final subject. What would be your ideal? So we just sit back. What do you reckon we need on the table, Irish? What do you reckon we need? So if you were going to have if people are going to visualize this, what would you put on the table? What are the snacks that you would have?
Holy shit, what are you talking about? Wait, food?
Yeah.
Why would you do that to me now? Oh my God.
I just thought I would just, shake it up a little bit.
Man, holy shit.
I
like food.
I know you like food. And for anyone who doesn't know and has not known Irish for a while, she's an amazing cook. She's brilliant. No, I don't just mean good.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not joking.
No. She's fucking amazing. She's fucking amazing. All right. So
the pictures are beautiful.
No. It's brilliant. So, if you would what would be your? Oh, pardon me, I just burped. Oh, so I'm sorry. Too much scotch. Sorry. All right. So. If we're going to lay out a table, what do you reckon are the perfect nibblies for a drinks night? What do you reckon? A drinks night? You know what a drinks night is?
Yeah, I do, Warren, but do you know how long it takes me to think about and conceptualize food that I want to serve to somebody? What is wrong with you? Right. Oh my God.
Okay, think about this and we'll come back to it next week. How's it? Okay, so everyone can listen. So everyone listening who's going to come back. So we've just asked Irish what is her perfect nibbly layout, right, for a table.
Tell me what cocktails there are. Tell me what cocktails, and then or the theme, and I will come back next week.
Okay, the theme. What's the theme? Okay, let's say the theme is Southern USA, right? And you've got to lay out nibblies with drinks for Southern USA. You just got multiple friends coming over or multiple friends, acquaintances who are coming over. They have no established concepts. You're just going to lay it all out. What are you going to do? And we're going to let everybody hang for a week and find out what Irish says next week. And you're going to fucking kill me.
Why are you putting all this pressure on me? Oh, my God. Okay.
You realise when we're off air, Irish is going to fucking kill me. You realise this? do you realise she's going to fucking kill me, right?
I am going to beat your ass if you weren't in Australia. No, seriously. Warren, what the fuck?
I don't know. It just happened. All I said was, what would you want to put on the table? I don't know. It just developed. I'm so sorry.
Right, are we not going to... pressure. Oh my God.
Are we not going to do that? Or are we going to do that? Or
you said we were going to do it. I don't do things I'm not going to disappoint.
Oh, come on. It's 10 minutes of working out what you have to physically make the
10 minutes.
You don't have to make the food.
Idea what I physically go through and the stress and torment I have to make sure the things I'm going to cook are right.
Yes, but you don't have to physically make them. You just have to.
You've really pushed it now, dude. You're in trouble. And there's going to be pictures and recipes and you're going to be sorry.
See, now you're going to actually hold the dinner party.
You're not going to get to eat anything, and I'm going to do it right on camera.
Yeah, did you realize this? You know what's going to happen now, right? Okay, there's going to be an actual dinner party, right? Where Irish is going to invite all these people around, and there are going to be photographs of Warren chained outside the front door, who's not allowed in. Right, I'm going to physically be there, like literally restrained from coming in, while all the tall people come in. It's going to be my hostel years. That's what it is,
I just want to say to you that was very exciting. So stop it. And I don't want to think about that anymore. So don't do that. And you're not going to be chained up. No, we've talked about this and we can't have these discussions. So I will do something about the food you've insisted upon. And dear God,
you've got a week to come up with a menu of 5 fucking food items. It's not very hard.
You're giving me a number now. What the fuck?
Well, I can do this right now. I can say sausage rolls, little boys, pasties. Okay, there's 3. Right, don't you have 5, right? Okay.
You said random words to me. I have no idea what that means.
You know what a little boy is. You know what a little boy is, right?
I don't know. I know what a little boy is. They live downstairs in the basement.
No. A little boy is a food. A little boy is a food item. A little boy is
in America.
It's like you know, like a hot dog, right? Imagine a hot dog which is only a quarter the length.
So animal lips and anuses. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, but it's only a quarter the length. Is what I'm trying to say. Do you?
Well, I know they like to tell us size doesn't matter, but that's a fucking lie. So let's not.
That's why they call them little boys. That's why they call them little boys.
I don't do little boys.
No, it's why a quarter size hot dog.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm just telling you right now.
Oh my god! One day you're going to come to Australia and someone say a little boy, and you just say what?
No, I'm not. I'm going to come to Australia, and I'm not going to play those games with you. Nope.
No, you don't believe me? It's a real food, do you?
No, I do believe it's a real food, and I think you're silly. That's all. I think you're ridiculous, and I think you're saying things to make people excited. So cut it out.
Okay, I'll stop.
And when I say people, I mean me. So stop.
All right, I will stop.
And
I will be.
If I'm talking about food porn,
yes,
or any other kind of porn, because I've been asked for a fans only account this evening, probably for my food.
For your food?
No.
Really?
My Twitter followers. They're I've known them for a long time, and I'm just going to say that once in a while they request things that they don't get. And this is going to be the same case now.
No, you don't ask things like that. It's like you just don't, guys, you just don't do that. What should, okay, I was about to say what you should do, but I'm kind of really scared to actually now say it, because I've got a terrible feeling that you're going to actually say, Warren, you can't say that. That's so really bad.
If you say it, and I think that's what I'm going to tell you, because I don't bullshit people.
If you really like someone on Twitter or Facebook, all right, and you follow them or friend them, all right, and you have nothing to do with them in real life, but you just kind of really like them, all right. Okay, do not.
That I do what to them?
No, you liked them. Like.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That you do, or Instagram, or whatever it is. All right. You do not send them messages to send them nude photos. That is just so fucking inappropriate. All right.
No, they have to pay for that.
Yes. Well, no, you don't even do that. No. What you do, if they occasionally put up a bikini photo, fucking, you can wank your heart out. All right. And to be honest with you, even that is pretty inappropriate, but it's what you're going to do anyway. So I'm just going to say it. No, it's the truth. It's the truth.
Of your own home. I don't know about it. I'm not going to say my Instagram doesn't have bikini photos on it, because it has 2.
Does it? Oh, okay. I didn't even know it did, actually. Oh. Okay.
You followed me in there and you didn't even look at the pictures. What's wrong with you?
Well, honestly, anyway. We're friends. We're not fucking searching after each other's dick pics. You know what I mean? I didn't know, to be honest. I really didn't know. But the thing is that, my whole argument, if that's what you are after, you will get a bikini photo eventually. Fucking deal with that. Just otherwise, let them live their life. Seriously, guys. I mean, don't fucking... No, they're married. Seriously, guys, they're married, all right?
They don't care.
You don't need to fucking...
What's your man got to do with me is the question that I've been asked a lot. And, I'm not trying to hear that.
Actually, I don't want to... We had a conversation. We had a conversation about that only an hour ago, actually.
I'm going to be quiet. Because, honestly, look, I appreciate being appreciated.
Yeah.
But, like, comma, but, or however, I am not looking for anything extra. So I'm already extra enough.
Well, this is the thing. For instance, if you put a picture of yourself in a bikini, this is just argument's sake, right? Okay, and let's just say on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or whatever it was.
I don't do that on Facebook.
No, but you just. I'm just trying to put this out there as a general concept, right? Right. So you put a picture of you in a bikini, right? Let's say I put a picture of myself in board shorts, right? Okay. So the whole idea is you put it out there, right? If people want to say you look great or you look shit or whatever the fuck it is, right? The thing is that it is what it is, and the thing is, if people really love it, that's great.
That's
Do
my
you know what I
motto.
mean? It's like it's not meant to be anything more than that. It's just
I agree
here
with
I
you.
am at the beach. Do you know what I
But,
mean? And
okay. I'm going to admit to you. I'm going to admit, as a person,
you want to get likes.
well, fuck yeah. I mean, look.
Yeah, but okay. No, I
Look,
get it.
Warren,
I get it. I get it.
I am, if I put something out there, if I take the time to do it, I like being appreciated. I do. I'm not going to lie. Everybody has an ego, and everybody likes to have that ego fed, and I don't have that fed in, like, all the ways I would prefer most of the time. So I guess I'll take what I can get. And if that makes me a shallow piece of shit, I don't give a goddamn.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't. No. Anyone who posts a picture of themselves, I will argue that 99% of people who post pictures of themselves on social media want to get a positive review.
Fuck yeah.
Right?
You don't want somebody to go, oh my God, look
Right,
how
otherwise, why the fuck do they?
yourself.
Right, yeah. Okay. Now,
Yeah,
there are the odd people that just actually really don't give a fuck, and I get that. There are some out who, I get it. There are some, right?
Yeah.
But realistically, most of us, no. If you put yourself up on Instagram, this is the thing I used to tell. Oh my God, some of my friends' children, right? Who, when I say children, they're not children now. They're fucking 21 or whatever, right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
But going back through time, through social media, when they were 18, 17 and all this stuff, and they would put pictures of themselves up in their fucking bikinis and, all this stuff. And I kept saying, you're applying for a job. Take it fucking down.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
No,
okay. It's like there is nothing wrong with you putting a picture of yourself in a bikini. Absolutely nothing. Do not get me wrong, right? Absolutely not. But we live in a real world with unfortunate values, right? No. And you have to think about yourself, not about the cultural good. Now, in a sense that, like, if you want to be a cultural warrior and fight it, great, okay? That's great, as long as you can pay the bills every month, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you can't pay the bills every month, take the picture down. All right, is all I'm trying to say.
I get you. If you don't, I've told people this before, especially working in casting. People who have their personal Facebook accounts and their personal Twitter accounts, and they put themselves out there on that personal account as an actor. They put themselves out there like they combine their personal individual stuff with the stuff they want people to use to hire them, okay? If you post things that are ugly or racist or, even you have to be careful. If you're going to, your personal shit, you got to watch, because if the people who are looking to hire you as an actor do not agree with your point of view, and you seem like an ugly person who might be difficult on the set or cause problems, I can tell you right now, if I know for sure that you are a person who supports Donald Trump and you've said nasty, shitty things on your personal Facebook account that I've seen about other races, I am never, ever going to hire you to be on a show. I don't give a goddamn how good of an actor you are.
Yeah.
I'm going to say this to you. Let me say.
Yeah.
The reason is because when you're on the set for 18 to 20 hours a day with a bunch of people that you have to spend a ton of time with, you do not want a person on your set that is going to create some random kind of negative energy.
Yes. Yeah.
You just don't. You don't want it, because everybody's stressed and everybody's working really hard to get this done, and you're a family, and then you hear somebody say something about how they think black people are trash or whatever. You cannot ever, ever, ever forget that.
Well, I know of people, and I have to be really careful how I say this.
Okay.
I know of people who have lost their jobs because of their political beliefs. Okay. I know it for fact.
Yeah.
However, we are not talking about someone who supports one political party over the other. That's not what we're talking about. We are
It's
talking
racism.
about extreme fucking views, right?
Thank you. That's my problem.
Okay. And they have, okay. So, and I know that. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
All right. So, but the thing is, but that's the thing. If you want to go onto social media and say, this is actually going to lead us on to our final topic, which we will come back to after the break. But if you want to say, I support the Democrats or I support the Republicans, fine. You're allowed to. That's what's called democracy. But if you want to spew bullshit across your page and hate, that's a very different matter. And that's the thing. So anyway, look, we're going to take a quick break and then we'll be back with the final part of our show.
Okay, good.
Cool.
Breathing is a palate.
And we are back. And you didn't realize you talked all through that, did you? You were so lucky I was there with the mute button. Don't worry.
I'm sorry, that's wrong.
Anyway, no, it is all good. But we are back. We are back.
We are.
And now, this is something I wanted to get your opinion on, because I think this is actually, forget about politics to some degree, although I don't think you really can.
I don't know how to do that. But okay, I'm going to try.
And that is that social media and politicians. Yes. Now, the President of the United States is currently in a Twitter war with Twitter, right? Because he believes, as he says, he should be able to say whatever he says without being checked at all, right? Now, what do you... Okay, I don't even need to ask you what you think. But the whole idea is, I want to throw this around a little bit, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Let's just pretend the president wasn't a Republican. Let's just say it wasn't Donald Trump.
It wouldn't be happening.
No,
this wouldn't be happening.
I realize it wouldn't be
happening.
happening.
You can't even okay, go ahead. Okay. I'm sorry.
But do you think what Twitter is doing is still right?
Yes.
You've answered the question then. That's exactly what I wanted to know.
Period.
Yeah, which is basically,
say this
is not
because,
political.
Here's the thing. Twitter is a private company. They offer a free platform for someone to speak on. That does not mean that they have to allow whatever the fuck people want to say on there. It's their platform and it's free.
Do you know what's called a platform? Right? Because in ancient Jerusalem, people used to put boxes on the street, stand up, and scream, "I am the Messiah."
Yeah.
Right? Okay. That's why it's called a platform. Right? That's where it all comes from. Now, the whole point is, here's my concept. There is a tradition in Britain, or at least there was, where you would literally get a fucking platform, a box, stand up, and scream. Now, there was, and there was one in Australia as well as one in America. I'm sure they're in every country, where you were allowed to go to a certain point in the city and scream whatever you wanted, right? And it was okay. The thing was, you did not represent the government of whatever country you were. You were an individual screaming what you wanted.
Yes.
Here's the point. Donald Trump is screaming what he wants. Is that the United States of America? Is that what's the population of America? 27 million?
No,
270 million.
330 million people.
So when Donald Trump says X, does that mean 330 million people say yes? That's what I'm trying to say, right? So what Twitter is saying is that, no, that's not what 330 million people are saying. This is an individual's thoughts. The government is far more complicated in America than one leader. In other words, American politics is not Russia, where the fucking president represents the government, right? In Australia, The Prime Minister is the be-all and end-all. They fucking represent everyone, right? But in America, the president does not do that. They have to answer to the fucking combined houses, don't they? Through the Senate and through the House of Representatives. They are not the be-all and end-all of government. That's my understanding.
We have,
right?
Yeah, we specifically, supposedly, put in checks and balances where no one of our three branches of government were supposed to have more power than another.
Right. And so this is the whole point. If the president states something,
fuck that piece of shit. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm always wrong with
No, you're right. Don't. I'm not disagreeing with you. No, he's the fucking criminal of criminals, right? But if he states something, that is now the statement of the United States government. Internationally, right, he represents the government. So, in other words, if he says, when the looting starts, the shooting starts, right, that is an official statement now of the US government. Now,
can I tell you, he didn't just put that out on his own personal account.
It was put
even
out
when Twitter.
Yeah,
he put it on the official fucking White House account.
Yeah, right.
And even after Twitter, and we all reported it. I reported it as inciting violence. Okay, because we are tired of somebody in our government being allowed to take a platform for free where he has millions and millions of people listening to him.
He doesn't.
And he can say whatever the fuck he wants. But if I say the word fuck on Twitter, they pop up a little thing and say, are you sure you want to say that? Because people will probably, report you. And do you just maybe want to tone that down? And I say, fuck you, fucking report me. Seriously, he can say whatever he wants and they don't do anything.
The whole argument has always been between Twitter and Donald Trump has always been that Donald Trump has been in breach of Twitter rules for at least 5 years. Right?
Yeah.
Now, no one
people get away with it.
No one actually, apart from his devoted fucking, drink the Kool-Aid crowd, right, have ever actually basically said anything different. The problem that Twitter has, and I kind of get into some degree what they're saying, is that the problem is he's too important, right? No, hang on. Please don't hate me for this. Please don't hate me for this. I'm trying to explain it to the greater audience rather than, right, okay. This is my personal opinion. Should the real Donald Trump account on Twitter be blocked? Like, in other words, canned? Fucking oath. Yes, tomorrow. Should the POTUS account be blocked? No, absolutely not. Unless it breaches the Twitter guidelines, right?
Thank you, yes.
And
if you break the rules like anybody else.
And that's all it's about. This is not about, which I heard on fucking Fox News and was repeated on fucking Sky News Australia, which I was really disgusted. This got to Australia. Really disgusted. Where they were saying this is a breach of free speech. Now, I'm sorry. This is not a breach of. This is a breach of breaking the fucking rules, right?
Yeah, okay.
So in other words, if I go to a holiday camp which says you must wear bathers, and I want to go nude, I'm breaking the fucking rules, right?
Yeah, and you get kicked out, right?
Donald Trump is going nude. That's the fucking difference. And that's what people have got to understand. It's not about breaching free speech. He's breaking the fucking rules.
Here's the thing. In America, our free speech means, in our Constitution, and people don't really seem to get this a lot of times, what our First Amendment means is that what you say about the government, the things that you want to criticize them about, the government can't do anything about that. If you want to say things about the government, you have every right to do that, and they cannot stop you. That is what free speech is. It does not mean the rest of society has to put up with your bullshit.
But can I just ask, do you have vilification laws in the United States?
What do you mean?
Okay, so in other words, if I am a journalist or a politician, if I stand up and say, now please, what I'm about to say, taking content, no, not saying to you, Irish.
Yeah.
Everyone listening, this is not my personal belief. I'm just making a statement, okay?
Yes.
All right, it's not okay. Asian people are fucked and should be shot, right? Okay. That is not my personal belief. That is...
Right.
Okay, right. If a politician or a journalist or someone says that, okay, is that free speech or is it... Right. Now, in Australia, there are things called the vilification laws, which means that if you say that publicly, you can go to jail, right? Because you breach the vilification laws, which is that you're not allowed to attack someone based on their race or gender or... Right, okay. All right. So, but it seems to me that the president and his supporters fucking breach it every minute. Now, I know it's a different country. Australian laws are not American laws. Australian laws are very different in the fact that people go to jail in Australia for things that Americans would go, what the fuck? Like
Absolutely,
you went to jail, but you had an opinion? Yeah, you had an opinion, but you were a fucking Nazi. That's why you went to fucking jail. All right, stop. I'm sick of hearing fucking journalists or people who claim to be, let's say, I'm going to do the air fingers now, journalists, right, who do things and then end up doing fucking 20 days in jail or 30 days in jail, and they say, oh, my free speech was... No, your free speech, your fucking... argument was that black people should be shot. Yes, that's why you went to fucking jail, okay? Yeah. Don't give me the bullshit that your free speech was... Anyway, sorry.
I get what you're saying.
Have I
Absolutely.
ranted enough? Sorry, have I... Sorry.
Well, no, I'm no, you don't have to apologize. I'm saying to you what I understand. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, here in America, you can't do things like yell fire in a crowded theater, okay? You can't.
Right.
Okay, yeah. That's
okay, so that is still wrong. You cannot
that
do
is,
that.
yes.
Right.
Okay. But if you are a politician and you want to say that you think that brown people of any color are filled with shit in their veins and blah, 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 do you want to say that in public? You have absolutely every right to do that. The thing that's going to happen, oh, shit, yeah.
Okay, so in Australia, I think you'd be in breach of the law, I think, if you did that.
Yeah, no, you can say whatever you want. The thing is, the government can't tell you that you can't say bad things about them. You can say whatever you want about anybody else, okay? It doesn't mean, though, that the rest of society has to put up with that, okay? So what's going to happen is, honestly, over and over again, when we have had politicians that have said things like this, they do have their own individual support, and it's very minuscule, and it's very, very specific, okay? The rest of us can say whatever we want about you as long as it's not something that is absolutely untrue legally. If we say to you, if we try to claim you killed somebody and you didn't, okay, that can be, you could be sued for that. You could be sued for libel or slander, whether you speak or write something about somebody that was negative, that was definitely untrue. But that is a civil case. So good luck.
So this is the amazing thing. So basically, what I don't understand is that what Donald Trump wants to achieve is that what he wants to achieve is for me, okay,
normalizing people hating others because of their minorities, and they're doing it in these really underhanded ways. But you can't stop them, especially because they have started putting everybody into places that will keep them in power, no matter what happens.
All right. So let me.
Right now,
can I ask you a question then? Right.
Very timed, American. I have never seen a time in my life, and I never believed that I would ever see a time in my life that things are happening the way they are now, but they are. And I can tell you right now, there's a lot of Americans that literally, most of the time, maybe they don't pay attention to what's going on. But the majority of us are not going to put up with this shit. So depending on what happens next, I mean, I honestly can't tell you where we're going to end up.
All right, so
I hope that we end up on the right side of history.
So
I really do.
So if I was going to ask you, a question,
it's a great ideal, and I hope that we can continue that in a way that makes us all proud for the first time, and that's kind of where I'm going to leave it.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back because we have actually got a problem with the connection, which people can't hear. So just bear with us for a moment, if that's all right. And we're back. We had a slight technical difficulty there.
Yeah,
these things happen. This happens. Hey, who cares? Who cares? Anyway, well, it's probably time to wrap it up anyway. It's been a fun conversation, and I hope the people listening have had fun listening in. I'm sure you got some ideas. I'm sure you will agree on some things. You will hate us for others. You will, whatever
and you can,
it is.
Look us up on the saintsmartini.com coming up very shortly. Not quite yet, but soon.
Give it a little bit of time. It's coming, and you can. Yeah. So, I think this is where we're going to be from now on, which is basically two friends, cocktails and conversation. And
hopefully less problems with technology.
These things happen. You can't do anything about that. I mean, look at some of the news reporters with some of the things they've had. What was the news reporter in Spain where his wife walked behind him while he was doing the news in her underwear?
Oh, well, I didn't hear about that, but we've had a few things like that here in the U.S.
Yeah, but apparently the guy was reading the news while his wife walked past him in her underwear. Not really something you would necessarily want to go out to the whole of Spain. Mind you, Spain, they probably don't give a shit, but you know what I mean. It's you know what I mean. Yes, we live in interesting times, don't we? You know.
We do.
Yeah, so whatever happens.
Well, I feel like regardless, what I really enjoy is sitting around having a conversation with you, having a drink, and just, chatting. So I hope people want to be involved in that. And
I appreciate that.
When we get the website up, if you guys want to be involved in it, we're looking for people to come have a chat with us as well. So yes,
that's exactly right. Come on board. Come on a live chat. Come on and say, let us know what you, and you know what? And I hope I'm not speaking out of school here, Irish. We don't care if you disagree. That's okay.
Oh no, yeah.
Right, that's okay. You don't have to agree with us. I mean, Irish and I pretty much agree on most things, but it's all right. You can disagree. That's all right, just as long as you're not a lunatic.
You like Vegemite, and I'm never going to touch that shit
that's
again.
Exactly. Well, fuck me. Vegemite is the essence of life, Irish. You can't. It is the essence of the universe. It's Vegemite.
Warren, tell me that, and you know what it tastes like to me, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I once heard a Japanese actor describe it as eating Axel grease. I don't know if you see it the same way.
I don't, but there was a consensus in my house at the time when we took the lid off and peeled the little foil back and gave it a whiff.
Yeah.
And people in the U.S. who grew up in my time might recall these. I don't know if you guys remember what Flintstone vitamins tasted like. But if you took Flintstone vitamins and put them in water and melted them into a paste and spread them on your toast, that would be Vegemite.
Yeah, but we do more than that with Vegemite, Irish. We make spaghetti. We make Vegemite spaghetti.
I don't want to talk about that.
We do.
I don't. I don't want to talk about that.
Oh my God!
It's late, and that feels horrible to me. And maybe
you've lost your rights. You've lost your rights.
I know. I'm sorry. It's just too late for me to deal with Vegemite spaghetti.
How do I deal with Vegemite at 2 a.m? I can't do that. No. All right.
No. Oh dear God! No, it's not quite, but still, yeah.
All right.
No.
Close to it. Anyway, close to it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, Yes, so
It was cool you sent it to me, though.
hey, look, as I said, you know what? If we agree on 99% of things and we disagree on 1%, that's pretty fucking cool. So,
I agree.
You know, and if Vegemite still gets thrown in there, so be it. You know, I can't help it. I'm an Australian.
I don't blame you for it. I'm just not a fan. That's all.
Hey, look, you fucking go to Norway where they eat that fish which is putrefied in cans, where they had to open underwater water.
Shark shit.
Yeah.
No.
So we're
not doing that.
No. What I'm trying to say is, don't treat us too harshly. We're not that bad.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
God, I wouldn't have compared to No.
You know.
Oh, okay.
Hey, you know, we're not that bad. You know.
Sleep now.
Anyway, look, I think it's been a fun show. I've had a great time. I've had a wonderful time.
Yeah, I always like talking to you regardless.
So do I. Look, I enjoy talking to you. So this is kind of where the show's going to be from now. It's just going to be myself and Irish chatting about the world, our thoughts, our feelings, all the rest of it.
Like you coming over and sitting on my couch and we're having a drink and just chatting in the same room, but we're on different continents.
And what we basically asked is that you join us in the sense that you sit back, you pour a drink, you watch the fight. Sorry, that's a line from a Pet Shop Boys song.
No, just get pissed with us. That's what you want.
You pour a drink. I'm a Pet Shop Boys fan. Anyway, don't worry. You pour a drink, you sit back, and you just join in and you listen. And hopefully, if we can get things going the way we want to, you can physically join in, and that will be really, really cool. So, look, I hope you had a great time. This was number 3 of the new experience of the Saints Martini. So, anything else we want to say or wrap it up or?
Fuck the police. That's what I'm going to say. That's it.
Fuck the okay, can I just say something? Fuck the American police. All right.
Yes,
can I just say that?
Yeah.
Because if you're Swedish or Australian or Canadian, we don't have the same opinions. All right. That's an American concept.
And if I know you personally, probably not. But in general, yes.
But however, if you are American, yes, fuck the police. I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
Also the Trump administration. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Cheers.
I'll go with that too. Yeah. So we'll say Lockheim. I'll raise my glass.
Or Sláinte, as I like to say. Yeah.
I'll go back to what we say. Skull.
Skull.
I don't know. Or do we just be Australian and just say, get one up here?
Oh, okay. Stop exciting me, Warren. We got to get off
seriously, that's the Australian thing.
No.
Get one up here.
We're done. We're finished.
Okay. Oh, fuck me. Why is everything Australian sexual? Why is everything fucking Australian sexual?
It's literally just me.
Oh, I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, we will finish the show and we will say, Skull, Lockheim, get one up here, have a great night, and we will
Sláinte and fuck Trump. Yeah, okay.
Yes, and fuck Trump. Fuck Trump. And we will be back with our next podcast next week. No worries.
Good night.
Cheers, guys.